Hey, what's up, you guys? It's your boy Mike Fallon yet again with another Citizen's Thoughts. Right now, I'm going to break down my thoughts on Captain America Civil War. It's been 2 weeks. It's hit $1 billion with combined worldwide and domestic profits. So, it's a hit. I've seen other people's reviews. I'm about to watch it a second time this week. But from everything I remember from it and then everything that I felt when I watched it, I give it a straight 10 out of 10. Literally a 10 out of 10. 10 out of 10. The reason why 10 out of 10? Okay, let's break it down, you guys. I love the whole dynamic of the film. It felt so self-contained that it could have been its own movie if we didn't have prior Marvel films. I feel this is the best Marvel film, period. Literally, it outdoes what Iron Man did, Guardians, Winter Soldier, Avengers 1. Simply because the way they balanced the ensemble in this one, they gave everybody their own moment. And it's just like they ripped everything out of the comics. The Russo brothers, y'all killed it. Like, straight up, I loved everything you guys did in this film. From the way that Captain America, like he was in his right to want to oppose the bill, the Sokovia bill, but he did it in a very just way. And it wasn't for any selfish reasons. He had nothing really to gain from it, but he's wanted to preserve people's right to choose to be good. Whereas Tony Stark, his entire journey, at first I was opposed to him. I felt it was selfish, but it made sense over the course of the film. Whereas he wants everybody to register because he doesn't want people to lose weapons. And then also at the end of the film with Bucky, that revelation, it threw me through an emotional loop. Like, I was straight Team Iron Man for that section of the film. Because, man, like, even Iron Man said it, man, he killed my mom. Like, straight up, Bucky had to go down. That's how I was feeling at that moment. Even though I know Bucky can't go down because he's a good person, it's just this entire film was great. So yeah, like I said, so I thought like Captain America's journey, where even though he was conflicted and was even wavering at first second because of the overwhelming odds, he stood fast and he put his foot down and held his own. He held his ground, and then Sharon Carter, which is his new love interest, finally, oh my God, when all these years for this, she just boosted and solidified, like Peggy would have, Steve's own natural good heart. Like, because that's the thing I liked about the Avengers, first Avenger with Captain America, was it showed him and his morals, and that Peggy Carter was his true love. But then now with her great niece Sharon Carter, who's just like Peggy, she can bring out and amplify those good features in Steve. We'll still see that in the future films. But everything with Steve, I loved. And then back to Tony, his leadership too is the way that he was figuring out how to still oppose Team Cap without killing them. I respected that. He didn't go over the edge. In the comics, he's a total pig in the sense of you hate him because he kills Avengers in the comics, whereas they didn't do it in this one. But it's just the whole 360 they put you through, not a 180, but a whole 360, the whole gambit and spectrum of what you feel was awe-inspiring. Especially when they showed us, like Tony Stark, basically when he used the actual 3D projection to show his last day with his mom and dad for therapeutical applications. That spoke to me to where it shows that Tony, if you really pay attention and see it, from Iron Man 1 to now, Tony is just a person who's been traumatized and dealing with the best way he can, but he's also a super genius. So, I mean, he had at 19, his parents died. He's been on his own ever since. And then from Iron Man 1 to now, he had to take on the responsibility of being a protector of Earth. So this entire film just shows you how these two leaders, in their own rights, from their own struggles, have to deal with the Sokovia Act and have to also deal with Baron Zemo. The thing about Zemo, there's only one thing I hated about him. He didn't have his mask. Now, in the comics, Zemo was part of Hydra. He's a mastermind, a crazy fighter, and he starts what's called the Masters of Evil, which is like the anti-Avengers or their Brotherhood of Evil. Basically, he gathers people to kill each individual Avenger as their better or their equal. So, you know, it's cool. He still has his name, Helmut Zemo. He wasn't part of Hydra. I mean, he still had the Zemo's essence, but it wasn't like the comic. And I saw unused art as well, where they show he did have his mask. That's the only complaint I have about it. I'm still giving it a 10 out of 10, but my only complaint is Zemo should have had his mask. So, and one of the complaints I've been hearing out there is towards the end of the film, if Iron Man didn't fly to where the other Winter Soldiers were kept, how would he have had them still fight it out? For all those out there who keep asking that, like, if Iron Man to show up, then what was the point of that ending? He could have leaked the video online. As long as Iron Man saw the video, which is the whole point of that, doesn't matter where he's at, he can be in Africa and watch the video. He would have snapped exactly the same and had more time to build up his rage towards Bucky. So, duh. Okay? That was the whole point of Zemo's plan, which is perfect. Like, no matter what happened, mission date December 16th, 1991, showed what it took to break the Avengers, which is a little bit how they touched on Avengers Assembled, and just threw that in there a little bit with Civil War, which I loved. I loved that whole entire segue. And yet they were able to have the Civil War, little pinch of Avengers Assembled, and the Bucky and Cap friendship continue on. So those balances, just those three elements themselves, is awe-inspiring, which I wish they would have done with BVS, but it didn't try as well as I wanted. All right, so the next Avenger I want to talk about real quick, War Machine. Now, even though he didn't get as much screen time as I wish he could have had, I still feel Don Cheadle pulled off being there for Iron Man. Through thick or thin, he shows what a real friend is too, just like how Falcon did. It's just, I get where they're coming from, because he's a war-torn man. I mean, he's a veteran. He's had to fight, protecting America, the same as everybody else. But he was an enlisted man before he was an enlisted Avenger. So I get his viewpoints on having controlled powers. I'm glad they didn't kill him. Thank you, Jesus Christ, for that. Yeah, man. So I'm glad they kept him on, so we see more War Machine in the future. Now, switch it over to from everybody's best friend, who's the right-hand man, Falcon. Finally felt so independent in this film. This is what I wanted from Winter Soldier. Now, I love Winter Soldier. It was a perfect movie to me as well. But that was my only complaint. It wasn't a flaw in the film. My only complaint is that he felt like he was just a sidekick like Robin. In this one, he took charge when he had to. Not from Captain America, but he was independent. He had his assistant, the bird, his bird robot, which is I like that twist. Instead of him being, because in the comics he had a pet bird which he was telepathically linked to. In this case, it's a robot machine. It's more versatile, more deadly. So I like how he was independent and didn't care, man. He was a ride or die. Like, straight up, anything Steve needed, he was there for him. Like he said, when they start shooting at you, they start shooting at me. And I love how this film portrays pure, true friendship in the sense of, when you're there for your friends, you're there for your friends 100% of the way. Now, you could tell if they felt that their leader, whether it be War Machine, Iron Man, Falcon to Cap, if they were wavering and felt like what they were doing was wrong, they would have cut ties. They would have been done right then and there. But they felt it was righteous and they went forward with it. So Falcon, Marvel, thank you for making Falcon feel more independent. Now, other character I have to talk about, Black Panther. Let me say it again. Black Panther. Killed it. The three show stealers for me in this film was Black Panther, Spider-Man, Giant Man. Not Ant-Man, Giant Man. Now, the reason why is this. Black Panther, because he's the first black superhero we got, period, in the Avengers, literally. Because War Machine and Falcon don't count because they're humans. First black superhero we got, that's an Avenger. He's the first black superhero in literature, period. So I'm just shocked at how they portrayed him. They literally ripped him off the page. He wasn't even a main character. He was like a supporting character, but he felt like he was one of the people that pulled the movie the most. With his entire endeavor, with the little bit of screen time we got with Chadwick Boseman, he showed the honesty, the truthfulness. He showed the integrity and the humbleness. Yet the wrath of war that T'Challa has in his heart, but also his logic, his rationality, everything and every dimension of T'Challa that are in the comics that make him one of my favorite characters was shown in this film. So Russo brothers, thank you for that. You guys did him justice. but we're going to see all his power sets in his own solo film. For those who don't know, everything you like about Black Panther or saw for him in this film is only like 40% of what he can do. Literally 40%. So the whole play set, his whole skill set is going to be shown in his own solo film. The next character I want to talk about for sure has to be Spider-Man. Now, for those fanboys out there, don't wild out on me, all right? This is from everything I've seen, everything from the cartoons I watched, comics I read. I feel Tom Holland is the first perfectly balanced Spider-Man we had, that he outdoes Tobey Maguire and Andrew Garfield's performances by a couple margins. Bear with me. Tobey Maguire was the best Peter Parker outside of the suit. Inside the suit, he was cool. You know what I mean? But he was more of a dramatic Peter Parker, not the funny Peter Parker like he should have been in the film, in the comics. You know, he didn't have that wisecracking nature to him. He was more dramatic. He was a bit funny, but they made him like a relatable person more than a relatable funny person. That's a super genius. Now with Andrew Garfield's performance, he was cool as Peter Parker outside the suit, but he was a better Peter Parker inside the suit because the wisecracking nature fit perfectly Andrew Garfield's movements in the suit. Now with Tom Holland, he did a perfect balance of both. Everything worked out. It was like I'm not gonna lie, you guys. I cried 2 parts in this film. Black Panther's dad dying, it gets to me. I'm not gonna lie. And Spider-Man. When I first saw Spider-Man on there, heard his voice, saw his mannerisms, interacted with Tony and Marissa Tomei, Aunt May. It got to me, you guys. It was just like I've been waiting all this time to see something like this. It was great. I loved it. So yeah, you guys, everything about Spider-Man was perfect, literally just like from the comics and the cartoons from the 90s. Everything I loved about it, all the essence, the fun, the joy, the genius, the integrity, his hard work ethic, his determination, everything that they were trying to do in the last 5 Spider-Man films, Tom Holland pulled off in 30 minutes. The fight scenes were perfect. The banter was perfect between him and the other Avengers. His strength was shown when he had to pick up the walk-on shaft. You know what I mean. The walkway you used to get onto the airplane when it got dropped on him. The way he went after Giant Man. Everything about Spider-Man that you would love if you grew up with him during the 90s or even from back in the 60s was in this film. And I want to thank the Russo brothers for that as well. You guys killed it. Giant Man. Okay. With a little bit of screen time he got like War Machine. He was show stealer. They literally been doing what I've been wanting to see since Ant-Man. They showed the Giant Man. Now, for those who don't know, Ant-Man, Hank Pym, not Scott Lang, which we get in the movies. Hank Pym changed his name 5 times. Now, the thing is, one of the 5 names he changed, because the names were Ant-Man, Giant Man, Goliath, Yellow Jacket, the Wasp, and now he merged and became part of Ultron. So that doesn't count. So this is a play on the second iteration of him, which is Giant Man. I loved everything about it. His banter, his fanboyness. Him and Spider-Man were both fanboys on each team, which I just noticed, which was hilarious, and I loved it. The whole time he was there, he pulled off what his purpose was. And the thing is, they gave him more of a backbone, too. I mean, he already had a backbone in Ant-Man, but the backbone he had when he was confronted by Tony Stark in the prison and in the promotional viral videos where he's interviewed while he's a prisoner on the shaft. I mean, not the shaft. While he's a prisoner in the raft. That's my Ant-Man. That's literally everything that Ant-Man's supposed to be was done in that small amount of time. So, thank you for that again, Russos. So, Hawkeye, same thing with him. It just made sense that he would be Team Cap because he saw the mess that's been made, and that's why he had to join in just to get everything resolved. So that plus him being independent as well. And, you know, because he had to pick up taking care of Wanda too, because remember, in Age of Ultron, he was like, basically, you're going to be one of us once you walk out that door. So I still feel, and then plus, I think he sort of still feels that he couldn't save her brother. So he might as well join Team Cap to take care of her and make sure that she's taken care of. So basically the same thing Vision wanted, but from more of a human place. You know what I mean? In the sense of he feels more obligated since he couldn't save her brother. So that's my view on Hawkeye. Vision. Loved everything about Vision. Loved everything about Vision, about the showing that he's trying to find his humanity. He's not a boastful know-it-all, but he's a intellectual person who's trying to find his way in the world. They showed his humanity to a perfect T, with a British accent. Really, Trump's the T. I know I'm corny, but I digress. They got the little Mr. Rogers getup going on. I like that. Sort of got it from the comics, and even from the current iteration where he has a family with the Synthezoids. I just loved everything they did with that, and how they set it up more for Infinity Wars. So, and how he has his fondness for Wanda, because they do get married in the comics. So I like how they led into that more. That was great. Is there anybody else I'm forgetting? Black Widow. I like how she was torn between both sides, and yet she saw the light, but she sees the light in both parties. So that's why it's hard for her to choose and decide. I mean, those are your friends. But everything that she went through, I understand. I understand her viewpoint. I understand why she did what she had to do. And I just applaud her role in there. Not being a filler, but actually making the story progress. Not just being dead weight as she could have been. Which could have been super easy for them to do. But they pulled it off perfect. Alright, and I got to end it off with the Winter Soldier. Now, for those who don't know, the reason why Winter Soldier lost his arm in the fight is when he becomes Captain America in the comics, his arm gets upgraded to where it's still metal, but it can become electrified, like a taser gun. So, I mean, he's going to have a taser gun type arm, which the Wakandans are probably going to give him, which is a good excuse for him being in Wakanda. He's going to finally get it be deprogrammed. I think that, like I said, even though I saw Iron Man beat the heck out of him, and I was happy that he's still a victim here. He didn't ask for this. It was, all he wants to do is be a good person, man, but he keeps getting taken advantage of. So I understand his plight, and the way that they portrayed him trying to better himself and then avoid this monstrosity of a situation Zemo put him in. I get where he's coming from in that context, and I get how he's just fighting for his own right to be free and right to live his life the way he wants to, which is why he chose to, after all the incidents happened, after all the beatings he took from Black Panther, Iron Man, how he's going to go with Black Panther and let Black Panther take care of him. Well, not take care of him, watch over him as he goes through this process of shedding himself completely from Hydra. Because it's basically about his renewal as a person, not so much about him getting a cool new arm. So I'm happy about that they showed depth to that, how they showed that he's just trying to be a human that wants to be free and wants to live his life and just let the last 70 years of forced killing that he had to watch, that she had no control over, be taken from him. That's all he wanted. So I can applaud that, and I love the depth for which they brought that into the film. Best part, besides the ending with the videotape of December 16th, 1991, airport fight scene. That airport fight scene is the best superhero fight scene in human cinematic history, period. And it might be one of the best action scenes ever, because you see all the depth of that? How it was choreographed, but you didn't get lost in the fighting. You can pick and choose which fight to go between two, which they did, and it made sense how they kept switching it up. They never stayed with the same person. They never got boring, and it was easy to track and made sense to progress the film, and it got you more familiar with how they're gonna fight it, and how off the cusp, off the top of the dome, they had to improvise. Because it was short notice, they did what they had to do as a team, and it was marvelous. I loved it. So this is Michael Fallon, my review for Captain America Civil War, straight 10 out of 10. If someone hasn't seen it yet, and you know they haven't, go tell them to check it out, all right? Take care. Please like, share, and subscribe to my channel. I'd appreciate it. I'll see you next time.